Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna,
Welcome back.
Hare Krishna.
Welcome back to the sessions on Wisdom of Bhagavad Gita. This is the second session we are doing. So let us start with this prayer for invoking auspiciousness. Om Adnyanatimirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Presthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swamine Iti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashyat Deshatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So last week we were talking about that was an introductory session. So we started with talking about why Bhagavad Gita should be read. What is the main reason why we should read Bhagavad Gita? And especially when we are reading Bhagavad Gita, why should we read Bhagavad Gita as it is, not any other book? So who remembers what we discussed? Why should we read or study Bhagavad Gita?
That's a manual
or anything else that you remember from the last session.
That's a manual on how to live life.
Yeah, very good.
Bhagavad Gita, and it should be read as it is to understand the context, because the words are Sanskrit. It could be, things could change their context, but because it is as it is passed right from Krishna to Brahma to Naradji, all the way till Srila Prabhupada.
Yeah, it's an unbroken chain of disciplic succession. That is why Bhagavad Gita as it is should be read. But even before going to why Bhagavad Gita as it is, why should we read and study Bhagavad Gita? So Vibhor Prabhu mentioned about it is the instruction manual for human life. What other points that you remember why we should read Bhagavad Gita?
Can I share some points?
Yes, please go ahead.
Hare Krishna. Because this is not an ordinary book.
Yeah. It's not an ordinary book. Yes.
Speaker is also not ordinary. Listener is also not an ordinary.
Absolutely. So the speaker is not ordinary person. He is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna himself. And he is the source of all knowledge, spiritual and material. So if we want to actually listen to something, and if he is going to actually compress all the knowledge that is there, all the spiritual knowledge, into a small book, only 700 verses, then how important this book will be. So that is why it is extraordinary speaker. And it is not enough to have only extraordinary speaker. We didn't need to have a listener as well who needs to understand what the speaker is speaking. Otherwise, the speaker has to come to a lower level to come to the level of the listener. But because Arjuna is also a very extraordinary listener, that is why that is a good combination of a speaker and a listener. What else?
There are so many extra benefits as well.
Okay, there are wonderful benefits. Who else can mention? What are the benefits of reading Bhagavad Gita?
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Yes.
One of the benefits you talked about in chapter 18, quote from Arjuna about his illusions being dispelled.
Yeah, very good. Yeah. So in the beginning of Bhagavad Gita, Arjuna says that I'm completely confused now. And so please help me. But in the end of Bhagavad Gita, after hearing this knowledge, the spiritual knowledge that Lord Krishna has given to him, in the end, he says, now my confusion is completely gone. And my mind is now crystal clear. I can know what to do. So this is a transformation that anyone who reads Bhagavad Gita, they will have clarity. They have clarity in their thoughts and understanding. But what other benefits that did we see?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Yes, Margi.
In the last session, we get to know with the clarity, we can make wise choices with
Yes.
using our free will.
Very good. Anyone else remembers what is the benefit of reading, studying, and distributing this knowledge? We also saw what are the benefits of these three. So what is the benefit of studying? When we are studying the Bhagavad Gita, what does Lord Krishna say? What is the benefit?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Lord Krishna, studying the Bhagavad Gita, you are doing the devotional service by intelligence, by listening, and you will get a clarity on your, human life and everything. That's what it is. Yeah. And by distributing, by explaining the Bhagavad Gita to someone else, I think that is the most dear to the God, because you're distributing that knowledge to others. Yeah.
Yeah. So when you are studying the Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna says that you are worshipping me with your intelligence. If you're reading it without envy and with faith, then he removes all the sinful reactions that we would have accumulated in millions of lifetimes. And when we are actually distributing this knowledge to others, then at that time Krishna says that there is no one else who's more dear to him than the person who's distributing this knowledge. So there is benefit in reading, there is benefit in studying, and after you study and implement in your life, when you actually distribute this knowledge to others, then there is benefit in that as well. Okay. What other reasons we saw why we should read, study Bhagavad Gita? Come on, mention quickly. Otherwise, we will be spending a lot of time in the recap of the last week, and we wouldn't have enough time to discuss the next week, like this today's topic. No?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Yes.
Bhagavad Gita takes us from darkness to the light of knowledge.
Yeah.
Because initially Arjuna was in confusion, and at the end he says he's free from doubt. So it helps us to move towards the knowledge, light of knowledge.
Yeah, very good. So just to summarize, we saw that these are the benefits. This is the reason why we should read Bhagavad Gita. So we saw that the speaker is extraordinary, the listener is extraordinary, the conversation is extraordinary. This is a summary of all the knowledge that is given, and we took the verse from Gita Mahatmya, where the Bhagavad Gita knowledge was compared to the milk from all the Upanishads, and they were compared to cows. Then we saw that it is happening at the extraordinary place and time. It is happening on the battlefield. There are millions of people who are waiting to fight, but at that time this is happening. So extraordinary place and time. Then it's the instruction manual for our human life, and there are extraordinary benefits that we get, which we discuss now. Then when we were discussing about why should we read the Bhagavad Gita as it is, then also there we saw, I think some of the points were already mentioned, that because Sanskrit is a complex knowledge, language, each word will have different meanings, and then when all these words put together, the Sanskrit verse, different people can bring out different meanings out of it. And if you want to avoid that, like each one who's reading it, we don't want their own meaning to be coming out. What we want is, when Lord Krishna was explaining this knowledge to Arjuna, whatever knowledge and whatever meaning that Arjuna understood, we want to receive that meaning from the book. And that we can only receive if we are getting the knowledge in the disciplic succession. If we are actually just doing it, sorry, my phone is making too much noise. So what I was saying, sorry, my chain of thought is lost. So we don't want to actually receive various different interpretations or meanings from Bhagavad Gita. We want to actually receive the knowledge as it is from Krishna. And if this knowledge is received in the chain of disciplic succession, which is unbroken and is coming from Lord Krishna himself, only then it is possible to receive the same understanding that Arjuna received. So this is why we should see and read Bhagavad Gita as it is. Last week, we were talking about this unbroken chain of disciplic succession. And this unbroken word is also very important. Why it is important? So suppose when we are getting electricity, and the electricity is not generated in our house, it is generated in some power plant somewhere. And then from that power plant, where the generators are there, from there, then the electricity is transmitted. And there are many substations in between. There are various places. There are various places where the electricity is stepped up, stepped down, the voltage is stepped up, stepped down, and whatever. And then finally, it is transmitted, and then it comes to your house. And then when you put your equipment, some plug inside that socket, then your equipment starts working. It receives the power, electrical power, and it works. But even a small break anywhere in that path from the socket to the generator, it's like hundreds of kilometers electricity is traveling. But there is a small break, even 1 millimeter break is there somewhere on that path. You will not receive the power, electrical power. So this is very important to understand that spiritual knowledge as well, it has to come in an unbroken chain of disciplic succession. Even if there is one small break where there is one generation which did not receive the knowledge properly, and if that misunderstood knowledge is passed on to others, then we will not get the knowledge as it is. We will not get the understanding which Arjuna received from Lord Krishna. So with that context, now we will start from the chapter 1 of Bhagavad Gita. Chapter 1 of Bhagavad Gita, Srila Prabhupada has named this chapter Observing the Armies on the Battlefield of Kurukshetra. And in Sanskrit, this chapter is called, various different authors, they actually name this chapter differently. So in Sanskrit, sometimes it is called Sainya Niriksha Yoga. Sainya Niriksha Yoga means observing the army. So just like Srila Prabhupada has named it. And sometimes some authors, they name it as Arjuna Vishada Yoga. So it is, so when Lord Krishna was speaking this Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna did not stop after the chapter 1 is finished and say to Arjuna that now chapter 1 is finished, I'm starting on chapter 2. He spoke all these verses continuously. These chapters were created by Vyasadeva when he was writing Mahabharata, and he introduced Bhagavad Gita there. So he put those chapters. But he did not even name the chapters. There are various different acharyas. They looked at the contents of the chapter and they saw that, okay, this is mainly talking about Karma Yoga. This is mainly talking about Jnana Yoga. This is mainly talking about Dhyana Yoga or Bhakti Yoga. Or in this particular case, Arjuna Vishada Yoga or Sainya Niriksha Yoga. And that is how the chapters are named. So the Sanskrit names, both the names, Sainya Niriksha Yoga or Arjuna Vishada Yoga, this has the name or this word yoga. So let us briefly understand what is yoga, and then we will move on. So yoga, this word comes from the word yuja, Sanskrit word yuja. Yuja means to connect or reconnect. So when we talk about connecting something, we require two things, minimum two things. You cannot connect to yourself. So it is connection means there are two things which are getting connected. So what is yoga connecting to what? So what are these 2 points that the yoga is connecting? So yoga is actually connecting the soul, which is Atma, to the Supreme Lord, Bhagavan. So Atma is getting connected to the Paramatma, or the soul to the Super Soul or the Supreme Lord. So this is the connection. So yoga means any knowledge or any situation where this situation is connecting you to the Supreme Lord, that is yoga. So in this chapter, we see it is called Arjuna Vishada Yoga, or Arjuna is lamenting, and it is considered as yoga. Why is that considered as yoga? Because we will see when we actually read this chapter, it is quite interesting that when Duryodhana who's the chief of like the elder brother in all the Kauravas, he sees the army, same army which Duryodhana is seeing and Arjuna is seeing. So when Duryodhana sees this army, he becomes very diplomatic, and he starts to incite everyone in his army so that they can fight properly, valiantly. But at the same time, when Arjuna sees the same army, he that invokes compassion in his heart, and then he surrenders to Krishna and he connects to Krishna and he says that, oh Krishna, please, now I'm confused, please help me. So this is how it happens. So Arjuna becoming or lamenting or becoming compassionate, after that he gets connected to Krishna. That is why it is called Arjuna Vishada Yoga. And this is yoga, because anything that connects you to Krishna is yoga. And this is an important understanding of yoga, because many times we have various different classes or so-called classes where they teach yoga. But when you go to those classes, or you sometimes even philosophical lectures as well, where people are talking about yoga, but they have nothing that can connect you as a listener to Lord Krishna. So how can that be called yoga? So this is a simple understanding going forward. If anyone is talking to you about yoga, you can just try to understand and hear and see if the speaker is trying to connect you to Krishna somehow or the other, to Supreme Lord. If that connection is not getting established, then it is definitely not yoga. Okay. So Rajiv Prabhu, you had your hand up for a while. Was there any specific question that you wanted to ask?
No, it was not regarding what we are explaining now, but before, when you were explaining the lineage of, or rather the unbroken connection, maybe you've shared this before. How was the Gita somewhat documented? It's a conversation between Krishna and Arjun in the midst of the battlefield, in the middle of the battlefield. So how was it documented? How was it written down? Who captured it there and wrote it down?
Yeah, so Vyasadeva actually wrote it in Mahabharata. Vyasadeva has divine vision, and he can actually see the past, present, and future. So Vyasadeva, because when he was writing this historical scripture called Mahabharata, in which this Bhagavad Gita was spoken, because he was able to see everything through his divine vision, so he wrote it down. And of course, Bhagavad Gita was not only spoken to Arjuna, only, like, that was not the only time Bhagavad Gita was spoken. When we actually go ahead and read further in 4th chapter, you will understand that Lord Krishna has spoken this multiple times to many other different people as well. And that is how Bhagavad Gita has always existed. At least this knowledge of Bhagavad Gita always existed. Okay.
Thank you.
Vibhor Prabhu, do you have any question? A quick one, and then we can move ahead.
Yes, a quick one, Ambarish Prabhu. Vyasadeva ji is 4th on the unbroken chain of
Yes.
list. So how could he possibly have? Well, you said that he has the divine vision. So
Yes.
I just confused. Sorry, maybe a stupid
Yeah, that's
question.
right. So, as I was saying, that this knowledge of Bhagavad Gita has been spoken multiple times. And I would just request you to park that question for some time. Probably when we come to the 4th chapter, we will understand how this knowledge is passed on at the beginning of creation as well. And it is not only the knowledge was given to Arjuna on the battlefield. Before that as well, it was given to Sun God. Before that as well, like that, it was given to Brahmaji. And Vyasadeva had this knowledge of Bhagavad Gita even before it was spoken to Arjuna, because this was not the first time it was spoken. So because he already had that knowledge from that chain of disciplic succession, which came from Krishna to Brahma, Brahma to Narad, Narad to Vyasadeva, like that, through that chain as well, he had received this knowledge before. But of course, he when he was writing this Mahabharata through his divine vision, again, he listened it directly from the Supreme Lord Krishna himself. Okay, fine. So let's move on. We have to cover at least possibly 13 verses today, if possible. So we'll start. So the first verse, it is very interesting and famous verse. And this is the only verse which Dhritarashtra has spoken. As I was mentioning to you earlier, in the last session, there are 700 verses in Bhagavad Gita. And out of those 700 verses, only this verse, one verse, has been spoken by Dhritarashtra. Out of those 700, 41 verses, Sanjaya is the personal secretary of Dhritarashtra. Now, Dhritarashtra, as you know, he is blind from birth. So when this war was about to happen, Vyasadev, he came and met Dhritarashtra. And he asked that, do you want to have a divine vision? I can give you a vision, and without going to the battlefield, you can remain in Hastinapur, and this war is happening in Kurukshetra, which is far away. But you can sit here and you can still see through the vision that I can give you everything that is happening on the battlefield. But Dhritarashtra was fearful. Dhritarashtra was thinking that I haven't seen my children growing up. Why should I see them when they are dying? So he already knew that there is a risk in getting this divine vision. But still he was curious. He wanted to know what was happening on the battlefield. So he asked Vyasadev that if Vyasadev can give this divine vision to Sanjaya, who is his personal secretary. And this divine vision is quite interesting, that it is, Sanjay can sit there and he can tune himself any part of the battlefield, because the battlefield is huge. There are millions of people. But if Dhritarashtra wants to see what is Duryodhana is doing, then he can ask Sanjay, just check what is Duryodhana doing, what is Arjuna doing, what is Krishna doing, what is Yudhishthira doing. So all of that vision, the specific wonderful vision, was given to Sanjaya. So in today's term, you can see that there are a lot of CCTV cameras focused. And then when your Dhritarashtra is asking, let me know what is happening with Arjuna. So Sanjay selects that channel and looks at what is happening and then explains to Dhritarashtra. Sorry, so I was mentioning, so out of 700 verses, 575 verses are spoken by Lord Krishna. Arjuna has spoken 83 verses in the Bhagavad Gita. Sanjay has spoken 41, and Dhritarashtra has spoken this one verse. So let us look at this interesting verse in the beginning. Dhritarashtra uvacha. And actually you can also recite after me. So that way you also get the benefit of reading Bhagavad Gita Sanskrit verses. Dhritarashtra uvacha.
Dhritarashtra uvacha.
Dharma kshetre kurukshetre.
Dharma kshetre
Kurukshetre
Samaveta yuyusava.
Samaveta
yuyuttava.
Mamaka pandavaschaiva.
Mamaka Pandavascha
Kimakurvata Sanjaya.
Kimakurvata Sanjaya.
Who wants to read the translation? Yeah, go ahead. Someone can start.
Yeah, I can read. Dhritarashtra said, O Sanjaya, after my sons and the sons of Pandu assembled in the place of pilgrimage at Kurukshetra, desiring to fight, what did they do?
Yeah, we want to read the purport as well. This entire purport we are going to read. So there are multiple paragraphs. So 1, 2, 3, 4 paragraphs. So 4 different devotees can read one paragraph each. Ramakrishna Prabhu, you have raised your hand, so you can start. Please go ahead.
Bhagavad Gita is a widely read text summarized in the Gita Mahatmya, glorification of the Gita. There it says that one should read Bhagavad Gita with the help of a person who is
Ramakrishna Prabhu, your connection is poor and the words are getting broken in
motivated interpretations. Example of clear and okay,
Ramakrishna Prabhu.
Yeah.
Somehow or the other, it is breaking up. So I think probably your connection, the internet connection is not proper. Can someone else read, please?
Someone else read.
Yeah.
Ambarish bhai, it's the prime example of what you were exactly saying. Connection poor, then it will get lost in between. So
Absolutely. Yes, Nanda Prabhu, please start.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Bhagavad Gita is the widely read theistic science summarized in the Gita Mahatmya. There it says that one should read Bhagavad Gita very scrutinizingly with the help of a person who is a devotee of Sri Krishna and try to understand it without personally motivated interpretations. The example of clear understanding is there in the Bhagavad Gita itself, in the way the teaching is understood by Arjuna, who heard the Gita directly from the Lord. If someone is fortunate enough to understand the Bhagavad Gita in that line of disciplic succession without motivated interpretation, then he surpasses all studies of Vedic wisdom and all scriptures of the word. One will find in the Bhagavad Gita all that is contained in other scriptures, but the reader will also find things which are not to be found elsewhere. That is the specific standard of the Gita. It is the perfect theistic science because it is directly spoken by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Shri Krishna.
Yeah, very good. Sunil Kumar Prabhu, please read. And then Devika Mataji, you can read. Next.
The topics discussed by Dhrishta and Sanjay as described in the Mahabharata form the basic principle for this great philosophy. It is understood that this philosophy evolved in the battlefield of Kurukshetra, which is a sacred place of pilgrimage from the immemorial time of the Vedic age. It was spoken by the Lord when he was present personally on this planet for the guidance of mankind. The word Dharma Kshetra, a place where religion...
Devika Mataji can start reading. That's the next paragraph. Yeah. And then Dimple Mataji, you can finish the last.
Thank you, Prabhuji. The word Dharma Kshetra, a place where religious rituals are performed, is significant because on the battlefield of Kurukshetra, the Supreme Personality of Godhead was present on the side of Arjun. Dhritarashtra, the father of the Kurus, was highly doubtful about the possibility of his son's ultimate victory. In his doubt, he inquired from his secretary Sanjaya, what did they do? He was confident that both his sons and the sons of his younger brother Pandu were assembled in that field of Kurukshetra for a determined engagement of the war. Still, his inquiry is significant. He did not want a compromise between the cousins and brothers, and he wanted to be sure of the fate of his sons on the battlefield. Because the battle was arranged to be fought at Kurukshetra, which is mentioned elsewhere in the Vedas as a place of worship, even for the denizens of heaven, Dhritarashtra became very fearful about the influence of the holy place on the outcome of the battle. He knew very well that this would
Somehow you got muted. Hare Krishna. I think last part got muted. That's fine. We were reading it together, so that's fine. Dimple Mataji, you can go ahead and read the last paragraph.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Both the Pandavas and the son of Dhritarashtra belong to the same family, but Dhritarashtra's mind is disclosed hearing. He deliberately claimed only his son as Kurus, and he separated the son of Pandu from the family heritage. One can thus understand the specific position of Dhritarashtra in his relationship with his nephews, the son of Pandu. As in paddy field, the unnecessary plants are taken out. So it is expected from the very beginning of this topic that in the religious field of Kurukshetra, where the father of religion, Sri Krishna, was present, the unwanted plant like Dhritarashtra's son Duryodhana and other would be wiped out, and the thoroughly religious person headed by Yudhishthira would be the established by the Lord. This is the significance of the word dharma kshatriya and kurukshatriya, apart from their historical and Vedic importance.
So it's a significant verse. It is the beginning of Bhagavad Gita. And just by discussing this verse, we will understand that how much knowledge in this just one first verse. It actually, when you read the translation, it seems that it's a simple inquiry by Dhritarashtra, what is happening at the battlefield? But when we actually start understanding this purport from Srila Prabhupada, then we understand so much knowledge is actually hidden in it. Even before starting to explain the verse, Srila Prabhupada explains how this Bhagavad Gita should be read. And in the first two paragraphs, he has explained it. And there are 4 points that Srila Prabhupada mentions that how we should read Bhagavad Gita or study Bhagavad Gita. So let us look at that. So how Bhagavad Gita should be read? So first thing that he mentions is that it should be read scrutinizingly. Scrutinizingly means we have to analyze it. It should not be just read with blind faith. We should have our mind open, try to absorb as much as we can, ask questions if there are doubts, and that is how we should scrutinizingly study it. The second thing Srila Prabhupada mentions is we should read the Bhagavad Gita with the help of devotees of Sri Krishna. Why that is important? Because if they have understood the Bhagavad Gita properly, and then if you have questions, then they can immediately be answered. And the devotees of Krishna, they are non-envious of Krishna. Why this is important is when in Bhagavad Gita or anywhere, if there is some glorification of the Supreme Lord is happening, if we are envious of Krishna, then we would not be happy with it. And then we will try to find different meanings from that verse. So just like if you are envious of someone else, and some other friend comes and he's glorifying this person that you are envious of, the first thing that you start doing is you start criticizing that person. You start saying that, Arey, what are you glorifying this person? Do you know there are so many problems? Last week, what happened? He said this to me and he did like that and whatever. So you will try to play down the glorification which is being done of the person you are envious of. So similarly in Bhagavad Gita, we are talking about the knowledge, the pure knowledge which we are receiving from Krishna. Also, it is about Krishna also. So whenever there is this knowledge which is coming about Krishna, if there is enviousness that is there in our heart, then we will play down that glorification. Wherever Krishna says that I am the Supreme Personality of Godhead, we will try to bring in some other different interpretation to avoid saying that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So that is why we should learn Bhagavad Gita from the devotees of Lord Shri Krishna who are non-envious. Then the third important thing is we should study it without personally motivated interpretations. So it is not that we already have a set mind that we want this knowledge from Bhagavad Gita, and then we are starting to read it. It is like selective hearing. You already want to hear something specific from Bhagavad Gita, and then you start finding where is the verse which will suit my understanding. And then you will say that, oh, Bhagavad Gita is saying this. But actually, that is not the actual message of Bhagavad Gita. If you actually go with this personally motivated interpretation that you already are motivated to get something specific out of Bhagavad Gita, then you will only find that part. And the last Srila Prabhupada mentions is that we should learn this in the line of disciplic succession. And that is how the Bhagavad Gita should be read. Now you would actually see this kind of slide again and again in my presentations. And when you see this kind of slide, then you understand that this is some practical application point that I'm trying to explain. So if you see this Lord Krishna and Arjuna's photo, and with these orange color text, at that time these boxes, then you should understand that this is some very important practical application that we can take from the Bhagavad Gita or from the purport. So as you remember, we were talking about wisdom of Bhagavad Gita is not only about knowledge. It is not knowing only that the tomato is fruit, but also understanding that the tomato doesn't go in fruit salad. So that is the applied knowledge that we want to see. So this is the first important lesson that we are taking today, that how the Bhagavad Gita should be read. We should be reading it scrutinizingly with the help of Krishna's devotees. It should be without personally motivated interpretation, and we should learn it in the line of disciplic succession. And Srila Prabhupada mentions that Bhagavad Gita is a perfect theistic science. Theistic means a spiritual science, because the Supreme Personality of Godhead has spoken it. And not only Bhagavad Gita gives the essence of all the Vedic literature, but also more than what you can find in other scriptures. And then he starts explaining the verse itself. So we can see this verse is quite interesting. So suppose one person is very hungry, and he goes to a restaurant, and then he orders many dishes, that he's so super hungry that he has ordered 10 dishes that he wants to eat. And the chef quickly makes those items that he has asked for, and the waiter brings those items, and those items are now organized in front of him on the table. And then someone asks, like while I'm saying this, then someone asks, okay, so after all these items are organized in front of him on the table, what did he do? Now this question itself doesn't make sense. We already mentioned that he was so hungry, and that is why he has ordered these various different items. What is he going to do? He's going to eat. So similarly, this question is quite interesting. Dhritarashtra knows that both the sons of Pandu and his own sons have assembled on the battlefield. So where the battles are taking place. And they are there, Samaveta Yuyusava. So they have desire to fight with each other. So after they have organized, they have assembled millions of soldiers to fight. They are already on the battlefield. They are desiring to fight. What are they going to do? They are going to fight. So still, why did he ask this question? What did they do? So this question is only coming when you are doubtful about what will happen there, whether they will really fight or something else will happen there. And the reason there is this doubt in Dhritarashtra's mind is because the first two words of this verse, Dharma Kshetre Kurukshetre. This battle is not happening at an ordinary place. This battle is happening on Dharma Kshetre. It is the place of pilgrimage, which is the place is called Kurukshetra, but it is not an ordinary place. It is mentioned in various different scriptures that it is a holy place. Especially in Kurukshetra, Lord Parshuram, he is one of the incarnation of the Supreme Lord Krishna. He performed a lot of austerities. And then there are many other sages as well who performed austerities there. So it is considered very, very, very pious place. So Dhritarashtra had this doubt, and he had this fear that this holy place will favor the pious people. So he already knew that his sons are not pious. They are not following dharma. But whereas the Pandu's son, Pandavas, they are very pious and they are following dharma. So he was thinking that this place will favor, because it is a holy place, it will favor the pious people. And he was thinking that, oh, it is also possible that somehow or the other, this holy place may have some impact on my sons. And though they are impious, but if somehow or the other their minds change and they will do some compromise with the sons of Pandu, then this war will not happen. So he was doubtful. And that is why he was wondering whether they are even though they have assembled there for fighting with each other, are they really fighting? Has the battle started? And the other question or other problem or other fear that he had was that Lord Shri Krishna was present, who is the establisher of dharma. And Srila Prabhupada compares, in the purport, we saw this analogy which came. Srila Prabhupada says that just like paddy field or the field of rice. So when the rice, a farmer has planted rice in his farm, on his kshetra, in his rice field. And then when he is observing that there are some weeds are coming out, then the first thing he goes, he will quickly go and remove all the weeds from his field. So similarly, Lord Krishna comes for establishing the dharma. And Dhritarashtra understands that his sons are following adharma, or they are going against the principles of religion. So when Lord Krishna sees this adharma or people who are spreading adharma, he is going to remove that weed. Or Dhritarashtra is worried that Lord Krishna is going to remove his sons. And that is how the adharma will be uprooted. So this is the fear that is there in his heart. That is why he is asking this question, that Kimo Kurvata Sanjaya, what has happened on the battlefield when they have come there on the battlefield. Now there is also another interesting observation that we can do from this verse. When he says, Mamaka Pandavaschaiva. So these two words are exposing Dhritarashtra's mentality. Actually, Pandu's son, they are treating Dhritarashtra as he's the uncle of Pandavas, but he's giving him the respect as good as their father. But Dhritarashtra is not treating Pandavas as his own sons. So this is the difference. And that is why he's differentiating Mamaka. Mamaka means my sons, and Pandavas as if they are not mine. So someone who's mine and someone who's not mine. And he's trying to differentiate between them. So this is showing the material attachment and the true mentality of Dhritarashtra. Dhritarashtra is blind from his eyes, but materially that means he's blind, but he's also spiritually blind. He is attached materially to his own sons. And that is why throughout Mahabharata, who knows the story of Mahabharata or the historical events of Mahabharata, they know that many places Dhritarashtra had the power to change things and avoid this war. But he always sided with his own sons, even though he knew that they were wrong. And that is why finally this war is happening. So this is showing the material attachment, or in Sanskrit, it is called Bhava Roga. Bhava means it is the disease of material attachment, Bhava Roga. Now, this is very, very dangerous. Some time ago, we had this corona virus, which was going on. But at least the good thing of corona was some people were, like many people got infected, but most of the people got recovered, like 98% or around that people, they got cured from that virus. But whereas this Bhava Roga, you can see this material attachment, everyone is infected, and hardly anyone is getting cured out of it. So Bhava Roga of this material attachment is very, very dangerous. So we can learn very practically from Dhritarashtra's these words, Mamaka Pandavaschaiva. Whenever we are materially attached, then we are not able to take proper decisions. And we can just look at Dhritarashtra and say that, oh, Dhritarashtra was bad and he was doing like this. But when we look at our own lives, then we can see that we may also be attached and affected by this Bhava Roga, or attachment of me and mine. So I would request every one of us that we should start observing whether we are affected by this Bhava Roga, which is this attachment of me and mine. And if you observe that it is there, then we should remember Dhritarashtra. And the next time you see in the mirror, then instead of seeing yourself, you should see Dhritarashtra in the mirror. And then we will actually suddenly will wake up that, oh, I don't want to become Dhritarashtra. I want to become a devotee of Krishna. I don't want to get attached to the material things. And the 50% job will be done. Then Sanjay starts to begin. After this question that has been asked, then Sanjay is now starting to explain what he's able to see on the battlefield. So Sanjay Uvacha. Dushtva tu Pandavanikam Vyudham Duryodhanastada Acharyam Upasangamya Raja Vachanam Abravit. So I was initially said that the first verse we should read together, but it is looking like with so many of you are there, it is not getting synchronized. So I'll just read and you can read on your end as well while I am reading. So the translation, actually translation can be read by someone. Who wants to read the translation? Yeah, Mantrumulam Prabhu, go ahead.
Sanjaya said, O king, after looking over the army arranged in military formation by the sons of Pandu, King Duryodhana went to his teacher and spoke the following words.
So Sanjay has started explaining what he's seeing. So he's seeing and he's looking at Duryodhana and he's calling him king. He said, Raja Vachanam Abravit. Actually, Sanjay is speaking to the actual king, who's Dhritarashtra, but he's calling Duryodhana the king. Duryodhana he's calling as Raja. Why is that? Because it is explaining who is the main person who's controlling everything, who's running the kingdom. So Dhritarashtra is the king in the name only, and Duryodhana is pulling all the strings. Also, Duryodhana, you can see now the few verses that we are going to read, they are going to explain how Duryodhana is expert in Rajaniti or diplomacy. And because he's good in that diplomacy, he's also called Raja here. So Sanjay begins to explain now what he's seeing. And it is quite interesting as well, the other point that you can note, that on Kaurava's side, the commander-in-chief of that army is not Dronacharya. The commander-in-chief is Bhishma Dev. But Duryodhana is going and talking to Dronacharya. Dronacharya is his martial teacher. So from Dronacharya, both Pandavas and Kauravas have learned how to use their weapons. So he is actually going to Drona to explain or to talk. So what is the reason why he's going to Drona? The main reason is he wants to show the mistakes that Dronacharya has done in the past. So he's trying to now go and talk to his teacher to show him what are the mistakes that you have done. So let us see what mistakes he points out. Pashaitam Panduputranam Acharya Mahatim Chamum Vyudham Drupada Putrena Tavashishena Dhimata. Someone can read the translation for verse number 3.
Prabhu, can I read?
Yeah, go ahead, Mataji. In English.
Yeah. O my teacher, behold the great army of the sons of Pandu, so expertly arranged by your intelligent disciples of son of Drupda. Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Yeah, thank you. So it is quite interesting. So now he is trying to explain what he is seeing. Like Sanjay is explaining what Duryodhana is speaking to Drona, and Duryodhana is looking at the army which is assembled in front of him, and he is making some observations and mentioning that to Drona. So he's saying, "Oh my teacher, behold the great army of the sons of Pandu." So he's reminding that sons of Pandu, remember, all of these are your students. And now they are assembled in front of you to fight with you. You are the teacher, but they are assembled in front of you to fight with you. So he's trying to incite the anger. And so expertly arranged by your intelligent disciple, the son of Drupada. Now he's talking about who? He's talking about Drishtadyumna. he is the son of Drupada. Now, instead of calling, he could have just said that, look at the army which is organized by Drishtadyumna. But he doesn't say that like that. He says, son of Drupada. The reason why he calls son of Drupada instead of Drishtadyumna is because Drona and Drupada, they are enemies. So in the beginning, there is a story in Mahabharata that some of you may be aware that Drupada insulted Drona. They actually studied together, and when Drona went to meet Drupada, Drupada was a king, Drona was a poor Brahmana. So Drupada did not want to be known as a friend of Drona. So he neglected him and he insulted. So Drona then, it's a long story, but Drona then also finally insulted Drupada. And Drupada was very angry. So he did a yagya. And the whole purpose of doing the yagya was he wanted a son who can kill Drona. And out of that yagya, he got this son called Drishtadyumna. And when Drishtadyumna was born, he was not born as a baby. He was just born as a youthful young warrior, adult warrior. So this Drishtadyumna was born for killing Drona. And Drona knows that Drishtadyumna, like Drupada has done this yagya and Drishtadyumna has been born. But when Drupada wanted someone to teach Drishtadyumna some martial skills, martial art, then guess who he sends him to? He sends him to Dronacharya. And Drona knows that this boy is going to kill me in future. But Drona is very liberal, and the teachers are supposed to be liberal like this. Teachers should not be looking at whether the person is my friend or an enemy. The teacher should liberally give the knowledge to whoever comes to learn from him. And that is what Drona does. So Duryodhana is actually trying to do multiple things in this verse. He's trying to remind that, remember Drupada, he's your enemy. And so that is for inciting the anger. And then he's saying that Drupada's son is your disciple. And you have been liberally giving this knowledge to them. And look how he's using this knowledge against you and me now. He has organized the army in a way for defeating us and fighting with us. So, and in a way, he's also trying to tell him that you have been liberal before, but don't be liberal in this war. If you become liberal towards Drishtadyumna or towards Pandavas, who are your favorite disciples, then it will be very, very difficult. So that is how he's trying to incite some anger and point out some mistakes that Dronacharya has done in the past, and he wants that Dronacharya doesn't do this liberal behavior while doing this war. So, as I said in the first session, we are not going to read all the purports here. We'll be just reading some selected purports. All purports are very important, and I want all of you to read these purports on your own to get the further understanding. I'm trying to highlight some important points from Srila Prabhupada's commentary, as well as from the commentaries of other acharyas. And that is how we are just reading the translations, and very few places we will read the purport. So let's read the next verse. Atra shura maheshwasa bhimarjuna samayudhi yuyudhano viratascha drupadascha maharathaha. Someone can read the translation, please.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Yeah, please go ahead.
Here in this army are many heroic bowmen equal in fighting to Bhima and Arjuna, great fighters like Yudhana, Virata, and Draupada. Hare Krishna.
Yeah, so there are many fighters now he's seeing. And he's actually benchmarking to Bhima and Arjuna, because Duryodhana knows that on the Pandava side, he's not worried about Yudhishthir Maharaj, he's not worried about Nakul, Sahadev, or even Drishtadyumna or any other warriors. He is mainly worried about Bhima and Arjuna. he knows that if there is someone who can defeat all these other people on Kaurava's side, they are Bhima and Arjuna. So he's using them as a benchmark. He's saying that there are great warriors, Bhima and Arjuna are there, but similar to them, there are other formidable warriors as well on the battlefield. And then he's naming few, Yuyudhana, Virata, Drupada. So many other warriors are mentioned. And then the list of warriors continue in 5th and 6th. So we'll read this 5th and 6th Sanskrit, and then we'll read the translations together. Drishtaketushchekitanah Kashirajascha Viryavan Purujit Kunti Bhojascha Shaibascha Narapungavaha Yudha Manyuscha Vikranta Uttamaujascha Viryavan Saubhadro Draupadeyascha Sarva Eva Maharathaha. Who wants to read the translation of 5 and 6 together? Yeah, please go ahead.
There are also great heroic, powerful fighters like Drishtaketu, Chiketana, Kasiraja, Purujit, Kuntibhoja, and Saibhya. There are the mighty Yuddhamanyu, the very powerful Uttamanusha, the son of Subhadra, and the sons of Draupadi. All these warriors are great chariot fighters.
So they are Maharathis. So Duryodhana is actually looking at the Pandavas' army, and he's taking the names of some selected warriors who are Maharathis, very, very powerful warriors. So he's naming Arjuna, Bhima, Satyaki, Virat, Drupada, Drishtaketu, Kashiraj, Chekitan, Purujit, Yudhamanyu, Abhimanyu. Abhimanyu is actually here, it is mentioned as Uttamauja. Uttamauja is Abhimanyu's another name. And he says that there are sons of Draupadi as well. And Maharathi is not an ordinary warrior. Maharathi is of course, Maharathi means he is actually sitting on a chariot and then sitting or standing in a chariot and fighting. But this Maharathi is able to fight with 10,000 other Rathis or other chariot fighters. 10,000 at the same time. Then there are Atirathis who can fight with 1,000 warriors. And the Rathi is able to fight with one other Rathi. So that is how these are very, very powerful Maharathis, which are explained there. And then after explaining that there are so many wonderful fighters or great warriors on the other side, now Duryodhana is also trying to explain who are the fighters on his end. Asmakam tu vishishtaye tani bodha dvijottama nayaka mama sainyasya sabnyartham tan bravimite. I'll read the next verse as well, and then we'll read the translation together. Bhavan Bhishmascha Karnascha Krupascha Samitinjayaha Ashwathama Vikarnascha Somadattis Tathaivacha. Who wants to read the translation of 7 and 8? Yeah, go ahead. Sunil Prabhu.
But for your information, O best of the Brahmanas, let me tell you about the captains who are specially qualified to lead my military force. There are personalities like you, Bhishma, Karna, Kripa, Aswathama, Vikarna, and the son of Somadatta called Bureswa, who are always victorious in battle.
So now he's starting to explain who are the great warriors on his side. So if he keeps on explaining too much about the opposite army only, then his own army will get depressed. That, oh, there are so many big warriors on the other side, and looks like Duryodhana is fearful of all of them. That is why he's trying to name all of them. So now he's, to avoid that, then now he is trying to explain who's the great warriors or warriors on his side. So he mentions Bhavan. Bhavan means yourself. So he's speaking to Drona. So he is saying that you are great warrior, Drona. Then he says Bhishma, Karna, Kripa, Ashwathama, Vikarna. So many names that he takes. Now it is interesting that Karna is not even there on the battlefield. He's not there. But he's still in his mind. And that is why he is actually counting Karna as well. And actually Bhishma is a greater warrior than Drona. but he takes Drona's name first because he's very diplomatic. He's speaking to Dronacharya, and if he takes Bhishma's name first, then Drona will be upset that, oh, you're thinking that he's better than me. And he's thinking that, oh, Bhishma will be understanding because Drona is a Brahmana, Bhishma is a Kshatriya, and Kshatriya generally respect Brahmanas. So if I take Drona's name first, it will be okay for Bhishma. But if I take Bhishma's name first, Drona will be unhappy. So he's very, very calculative and thinking like this diplomatically. And that is how this entire conversation is very, very diplomatic that he's doing. We'll just cover 2-3 more verses and then we'll stop. Anne cha bahava shura madarthe tyakta jivitaha nana shastra praharana sarve yuddha visharadaha. Who wants to read? Yeah, Mahendra.
Hey, Prabhu. There are many other heroes who are prepared to lay down their lives for my sake. All of them are well equipped with different kinds of weapons, and all are experienced in military science.
It's very interesting. He has already forecasted that what is going to happen. So he's saying all of these warriors who are on my side, they are ready to give up their life for me. So though in a way he's saying that, oh, they are so dedicated to me, but he's also, there's a forecast there that he has done, some future prediction that he has already done. He's saying that all of them are going to give up their life for me on this battlefield. Aparyaptam tadasmakam balam bhishma bhirakshitam paryaptam tvidame tesham balam bhima bhirakshitam. Amendra Prabhu, please read.
Our strength is immeasurable, and we are perfectly protected by grandfather Bhishma, whereas the strength of the Pandavas, carefully protected by Bhima, is limited.
So another diplomatic conversation here. So aparyaptam, he's saying that our army is unlimited. And Pandava's army, which is protected by Bhima mainly, which is limited. But this word aparyapta has two meanings. Aparyapta, which can mean unlimited, or it can also mean insufficient as well. So if you take the meaning that it is unlimited, that our army is unlimited because it is protected by Bhishma, then Bhishma is happy because Bhishma is also hearing this conversation. But if Drona takes the meaning that, oh, our paryaptam means insufficient, so our army is insufficient under the guidance of Bhishma, then Drona thinks that, okay, I am also important. So I can also add some value here on the battlefield. So that is what Duryodhana is trying to tell me. So he's using these words which can have multiple meanings and trying to please everyone there. Now the others who are standing there, whose name he hasn't taken, they may be worried. Is Duryodhana only giving importance to these 5-6 people that he has named, and he is not considering us to be any important? So to avoid that, then he speaks about this next verse, and then we'll stop after reading this next verse. Ayaneshu ch sarveshu yatha bhagamavastitaha bhishmameva bhirakshantu bhavanta sarva evahi. Who wants to read the last translation? Yeah, Mahendra, please go ahead. Yes, Gita Mataji, please read. You are muted, so unmute yourself and then you can read.
Okay. All of you must now give full support to Grandfather Bhishma as you stand to your respective strategies points of entrance into the phalanx of the army.
So as you can see that he has again said that don't worry, you are also very important. Bhishma Dev is very great warrior, but he has become old now. So he may be fighting to a particular warrior, and at that time he may actually may not be watching on the other side. So you have to protect him. So you are also very important and you should protect him. And that is how he's trying to please everyone. Now there is a very important observation that you can do here. He has spoken about so many different warriors on Pandava's side and on his own side. But someone very important he has missed on the battlefield. Who is that?
Lord Shri Krishna.
Lord Shri Krishna, absolutely. It is quite interesting, isn't it? Lord Shri Krishna is the supreme personality of Godhead. But when he's counting different warriors, he's not even talking about Lord Krishna. He talked about so many people like Karna, who's not there on the battlefield. He is talking about him. But Lord Shri Krishna, who's in front of him on the battlefield, he cannot even acknowledge or recognize his potency or power. So this is the main reason. What is the difference between Duryodhana and Arjuna? So Arjuna, whenever he required something, he will always take shelter of Krishna. But whenever Duryodhana what Duryodhana is dependent on is all his material prowess. He is talking about he has taken diplomacy as one of the important tool or instrument. Then he's talking about the strength of Bhishma. He's talking about the strength of Drona. And he knows that as long as Bhishma and Drona are on the battlefield, he will not be defeated. So he's glorifying them, but he's not even observing or noting Krishna there. The main reason is that when Krishna said that he will join the battle, he said that I will take part in the battle, but I will not fight. I will not even lift any weapon. And on one side, it is me who is not going to lift any weapon. You can choose either me like that, or you can choose my entire army, which is called Narayani Sena, which is very, very powerful. So you can choose one of them. And Duryodhana and Arjuna both had gone there to ask for help. But Arjuna gets the opportunity first. And Duryodhana was thinking, oh my God, now what will happen? Obviously, what is the use of Krishna? He's not even going to lift a weapon. And Arjuna is definitely going to take the army. And I will get Krishna from his perspective. He's going to be useless because he's not even going to fight. But Arjuna, to his surprise, chooses Lord Krishna. He says that I want the Lord, you to be on our side. I don't want any army. And Duryodhana was very happy. But externally he said that, oh, okay, now only army is left, so I will take the army. And he happily went. And so Krishna's army actually is now fighting on Kaurava's side. But Krishna, without any weapon, is on Arjuna's side, on Pandava's side. So this is a very important lesson that we can learn from Duryodhana's mentality. We saw one thing from Dhritarashtra's mentality, which was his attachment. And now we can see something from Duryodhana's mentality. So we should observe if we are counting Krishna on our side or in our life, or are we actually dependent on all the material things that we have accumulated? So who we are dependent on? Are we dependent on Krishna, or we are dependent on all the material things that we have accumulated? So if we see that we are dependent on Krishna and we are counting Krishna on our side, then when you see in the mirror, you can see that, yes, it is like Arjuna that is there, and Arjuna's devotee, Krishna's devotee is there just like Arjuna. But if you are dependent too much on material things and Krishna is not there even in the picture, then we should understand that when we see in the mirror, we should see Duryodhana. So many times we think that, oh, Duryodhana and Dhritarashtra are the bad characters, they are villains in Mahabharata. But many of the things that Duryodhana and Dhritarashtra were doing, we also do in our life. So we should make sure that we should count Krishna in our life, we should consider Krishna in our life, and we should be dependent on him. So we will stop here, and from next week onwards, we will see verse number 12 and further. So who wants to summarize what we have learned today? Very briefly.
I can speak, Prabhuji.
Yeah, go ahead, Vichitra Prabhu.
Okay, so today, first of all, we realized how to read Bhagavad Gita like based on the 4 tick points, scrutinizingly with the help of devotees of Sri Krishna, so they can guide us in case of any ambiguity, confusion, and also with without any preconceived interpretation, and in the line of disciplic succession. Those are the 4 main points.
Okay, very good.
In which we
Prabhu.
should read Bhagavad Gita.
Excellent. Anyone else wants to add any other points?
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Yes, Mahendra Prabhu.
Yeah, we also discussed about Dhritarashtra's fear about the place, like the holy place that will favor the pious. Also, under the influence of that holy place, his sons will do compromise. And the third point was paddy field of dharma, where weeds of adharma will be uprooted.
Yeah, very good.
Also, yeah, also about that, in words of Prabhupada, Bhagavad Gita is spiritual science.
Good. Anyone else wants to add?
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Yes, Shanti Mataji.
You talked about the definition of yoga, what it means, and how we got to have 2 connections. The connection is between Atma and Bhagavan. So what's the way to go forward with that?
Yeah, very good. Very nice. What did we learn from Dhritarashtra's mentality? Anyone else wants to mention what did we learn from Dhritarashtra's mentality?
Prabhu, he was so attached with the sons.
And from that, what should we do?
Bhavarogya, material attachment. Bhavarogya.
Yeah.
Start observing whether you are affected by the Bhavarogya, attachment of me and mine. Yes.
Very good. And what did we learn from Duryodhana's mentality?
Observe if you are counting yourself in Krishna on your side, or we are depending on all the material attachment.
Correct. Just like Duryodhana was dependent on all his warrior and power and whatever, and he was not even considering Krishna anywhere in the picture, even though he was seeing Krishna, but he did not even count him on even Pandava's side because he thought that Krishna is useless. He is not even going to fight. What is the benefit of having Krishna on anyone's side? But that part is answered in the last verse of Bhagavad Gita. What happens when Krishna is on your side? So when we go there, we can see, but if you're curious, you can read 18.78, last verse. Any questions or comments before we close today? Anyone has any questions?
Prabhuji, why Bhagavad Gita was started with Dhritarashtra? Anyways, his job is only for 1 sloka.
Yeah.
Can you...
It is a context that it is actually explaining to us that actually the knowledge of Bhagavad Gita comes when Lord Krishna starts speaking. But even before the Bhagavad Gita is spoken by or Lord Krishna starts speaking about Bhagavad Gita, this context as well, which explains our own issues, all our own problems which are there in our heart. So Dhritarashtra's mentality is shown, then Dronacharya's mentality is shown, then Duryodhana's mentality is shown, and then Arjuna's mentality is shown in this first chapter. And from that, we can understand, oh, so from this mentality, like from Dhritarashtra or Duryodhana's mentality, we have to actually move towards the consciousness that Arjuna has. And if that difference is not highlighted, then it will not be very clear for us. And that is why it is starting with Dhritarashtra's inquiry, that what is happening there. And it is also showing his attachment, and then it moves on ahead. Any other questions or comments? Sorry, I know that we have gone little over time, but if there are any quick questions that we can answer. Okay, if nothing is there, then we will meet again next week, and we will continue this journey from verse number 12 onwards. Srila Prabhupada ki Jai.
Jai.
Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki Jai.